for you to go back to for reference purposes. Okay, so let's see. The purpose of this meeting is to provide you with an overview of the attachments in the fully executed grant agreement email that you have received. My name is Jennifer Grooms, and I'm a workforce development analyst with the Apprenticeship and Training Office. I'm assigned to this grant to support you in any way I can and to provide technical assistance. Joining me is a very supportive team who from time to time may have some interaction with you regarding certain areas of your grants. First, we have Sharon Hawkins. She is a fiscal technician with the Bureau of Workforce Development and Administration, and we affectionately call that BWDA. Jared Young, he's a special projects apprenticeship and training representative with the Apprenticeship and Training Office. Christina Ramos is the workforce development analyst with grants and fiscal services of BWDA. And that pretty much rounds it out for those of us from the L&I office. So just some quick housekeeping items. If you could, please hold your questions until the end of the presentation for our Q&A. When we move to the Q&A session, if you have muted yourself, you will need to unmute using the icon in Teams, or if you've called in, you can hit *6, of course, to unmute. Let's see if there is anybody. There we go, someone let them in, thank you. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Each of you should have received an email detailing the fully executed grant agreement and NOO. This email includes the attachments listed here. The first attachment is your fully executed signed grant agreement. The Creating Nursing Pathways in Pennsylvania Through Apprenticeships grant period is July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2026. The next attachment is your fully executed notice of obligation, or NOO. And as with your grant agreement, the NOO is dated for the time frame of July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2026 in order to match your grant agreement. Throughout the rest of this presentation, we will highlight the remaining attachments listed here, but not necessarily in this order. We're going to start with the reporting instruction attachment that you received. Your reporting instructions are your guide to ensure prompt payment for invoices. To avoid delay in payment, you must do the following. Adhere to the requirements outlined in your fully executed grant agreement. Submit your audited financial statement and IRS 990, if applicable, within 2 weeks of your fully executed email. Note, if you are not required to do an IRS 990, then you must disclose this information in writing. Sign and return the attestation form found in your fully executed email. Your reporting instructions also introduce the grant financial report package and the process to invoice expenses. This information, along with your support documentation, are due by the 5th of each month through the PA CareerLink site or the Commonwealth Workforce Development System, referred to as CWDS. And we will take a look at that in a moment. As awardees of a grant, you're required to provide quarterly reports detailing project progress and performance. Your terms and conditions will outline a reporting timeline, and the chart that you see here was pulled directly from the attachment. First, all grantees will complete Attachment 2, the Quarterly Narrative Report, or QNR, used for capturing performance information. And I will now share the QNR report with you so you can take a look at how that looks. Okay, hopefully that is viewable. As you can see, the QNR template is fairly self-explanatory. We're looking for general information such as quarterly grant activities, employer business engagements, work with education and training partners, progress towards the outcomes and goals, challenges and barriers faced, as well as strategies to overcome those challenges and barriers, and best practices. So next we will take a look at the quarterly progress report. I'm going to open that attachment for you as well. So you'll notice there are 4 tabs along the very bottom of the workbook. And the first tab is very basic. It's your grantee data. The next tab focuses on apprentice information. In terms of information being tracked, we're looking at new apprentices enrolled per registered programs, active apprentices per registered program, apprentice completion per program, and the average completion wage. So you can see all of those goodies in there. We ask that you provide information for each month of the quarter, and please note that there are tooltips that will help guide you, and this applies to all the components of the QPR. To see those, all you need to do is click on the section heading, as I did there. You'll note that there are locked cells within the quarterly and cumulative total columns, and these contain formulas that cannot be edited. However, due to the fluid nature of some of the information requested, such as the active apprentices and average completion wages, we do require manual entry in the monthly, quarterly, and cumulative total columns. If you need to add additional rows, you should be able to do so without issue. The demographics tab focuses on all newly enrolled apprentices. We ask that you provide this information for each month of the quarter. Please keep in mind that the totals found in this tab should align with what we see in the new apprentices enrolled section of the previous tab. And lastly, we focus on demographics for apprentices who have completed their programs. Again, we ask that you provide this information for each month of the quarter. I encourage you to reference the tooltips that have been included in this report. And I recognize that it's thorough and that we're asking a lot, but it is vital information for the ATO and LNI to get the thorough understanding of your project's progress and how the grant dollars are being put to use. I also want you to know that as you work on this for your first quarter, I'm available and happy to assist in any way. As with much of this information, we do not expect that you will have this information memorized. As noted in the terms and conditions, the Commonwealth has integrated the grantee reporting capabilities into the Commonwealth Workforce Development System, CWDS. And at some point, we may be prepared to ask you to, in addition, uploading or submitting the QNR and QPR to us using the CWDS to support enrollment. But at this point, we're not quite ready for that. Additionally, the terms and conditions outline grant requirements and reminders on the following tasks. Success stories. Grantees will submit success stories in a format that I will send out to you pertaining to their funded programs on a quarterly basis. Next, we have rapids. Grantees must enter required data for registered program apprentices into the Registered Apprenticeship Partners Information Data System, as we call rapids. Then we have the sustainability plan. Grantees should have submitted a completed sustainability plan within 30 days of the date of the award letters. The template for this plan has already been sent to grantees. In addition, grantees should have submitted a revised budget within 30 days of the date of the award letters. The template for the revised budget has already been sent to grantees. And next we have the final outcomes table. Grantees should have submitted a final outcomes table within 30 days of the date of the award letters. The template for the final outcomes table was already sent to the grantees. Continuing on, grantees will be required to participate in monthly calls. Once meetings have been established, you should be prepared to introduce yourself and provide a description of the project that you're working on. I do plan to get those set up, hopefully in July. With Sam's departure from the Apprenticeship and Training Office, I've been unable to get those reestablished. Grantees may also be selected to participate in a state grant performance review. And grantees must submit budget modification, narrative updates, and grant extension requests as necessary. Grantees will participate in any required trainings, events, and should coordinate visits with the ATO upon request. And grantees must also follow the closeout submission process, which we will cover later in this call. Okay, how to get paid. Grantees must submit invoices through the PA CareerLink site, also known as the Commonwealth Workforce Development System. Those are due by the 5th of the month, and any questions regarding invoicing should be directed to the following resource account at ra-libwda-nonlocal@pa.gov. And I'm now going to turn the presentation over to Sharon. She's the fiscal technician and knows the information inside and out with submitting your invoices. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'll move Sharon to a presenter.
And it's popped up. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Good afternoon, everyone. I am going to go over some information regarding the invoicing steps that need to take place so that you can receive your reimbursement payments every month. I am going to now start with the grant financial reporting package, otherwise known as the GFRP. And if you can let me know if you can see the Excel workbook, please. Great. Thank you, Jennifer. So in the GFRP, there will be 5 tabs. You'll have your budget summary, which is just a snapshot of your entire budget and where you have the categories that you have funds allocated to. The next tab will be your budget and expense details, and this is where you're going to record your monthly expenses for all of the expenses incurred for running your program. The third tab is going to be the FSR, or the financial status report, the FSR details, and then lastly, your draw details. These 3 tabs at the end, you will not have to enter in monthly expenses. All of your monthly expenses will occur on your budget and expense details tab. This should have been completed as part of your application process when submitting the budget for the grant. For each month that you are invoicing for, you will go over and update the month and the year that these expenses occurred. And then you're just basically going to enter in whatever expenses you have. So in this case, we had $50 in admin staff. We had $75 for program staff salaries. And then you'll just continue on. $200 was the monthly rent. And so for each category that you are invoicing, you will put the amount of those expenses in that column. Your GFRP, or the Grant Financial Reporting Package, is automatically set up that your first month of expenses will transfer over to the FSR details. And if we look in this first column here, it tells you where it is pulling this information from. So the only change that you will need to make is when you go into the following month, and that's going to be September or whatever month you're invoicing for, you will see that it is now in column X. In order to have your expenses pull the appropriate month, you must go to your FSR details tab, go up into the ribbon here, and then change the letter. And once you do that, it will update your monthly expenses here. So in this case, on my budget and expense details tab, I don't have a salary entered, so it's not pulling a salary over. But if I was to enter $100 and then go back to my FSR details, the $100 has now populated into my monthly expenses because I have set it to pull from column X of the budget and expense details tab. So this will complete this is how you will fill out your GFRP every single month. And if you follow those directions, it will automatically update your FSR, with what your total monthly expenses are, as well as what the total cumulative amount, and it will update the remaining to expend. It will also update your draw details. So again, the only place that you want to key information in for your expenses is going to be on the budget and expense details tab. Once you have completed your Excel spreadsheet, you do want to convert the FSR details, as well as the draw details into a PDF, because part of your supporting documentation is going to be to submit this workbook in its entirety, as well as the PDF versions of the FSR details and the draw details. So I'm going to pause here for a minute. I know that was a lot of information, to see if anyone has questions. Perfect.
So wait, let me jump in with a question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
This is Scott from Emerge Education. So from what I heard you say, we are to manipulate the cell formula in the Excel file and create the PDF documents that you just outlined there and you're pointing to. So then we'll have this Excel document. It'll be manipulated for that particular month. Are we to send that document in, the actual Excel document? And okay, so Bill's shaking his head yes, so he captured that. And then so we manipulate it every month accordingly.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Yes, and you will send the Excel workbook as well as the PDF of each month, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Got it.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome, Scott. Okay, so that is the first step in starting the invoicing process. The next step is effective July 1st. So our current process now is all invoices are gathered up, completed, you get all your supporting documentation, and you send it into a resource account, non-local invoicing resource account. And we retrieve it from that account and begin to work on it and process the payments for reimbursement. Effective July 1st, invoicing is now transitioning to CWDS, or the Commonwealth Workforce Development System, also known as PA Career Link. So grantees will log in through the PA Career Link side. And if you are logging in, can anyone see I've changed screens? You should see PA Career Link Commonwealth Workforce Development System. Perfect, thank you. If you are logging in for the first time into the PA Career Link, you will probably see this dashboard here. In order to get to your actual invoicing screen, you will need to view providers PA Career Link dashboard. You will need to click on that link, which is going to bring you to your institution's dashboard. This is going to be a shared screen, so not every widget on here will apply to you. For the purposes of workforce invoicing, you will use mainly My Workforce Invoices. And just so everyone is aware, this is a test site. It does not contain any live data, and this site is used only for demonstration purposes. So to get to your contracts for your organization, you always want to remember you are working from the green bar at the top. So always remember, green for go. Stole that from Raylene. So we want to go to Finance, Workforce. You always want to make sure you're under Workforce. And then you want to do Search Contracts. And so here we have search contracts, search invoices, search requests for funds, search financial status reports. We want to start with search contracts. And that is going to bring up all the contracts that you have with BWDA. And it doesn't matter if it's reconciled, if it's pending. If you have a contract with BWDA or have had one in the past, it will be on your dashboard here. So in this case, this organization has two different contracts. One is a veterans, one is reemployment, and they have three that are in reconcile status. So reconcile means it's over. And it'll tell you that amount remaining to draw is 0, so you won't be able to create any invoices against those contracts. You will always look for contracts that are in SAP posted successfully. So we'll just take the contract, the first one here, and it gives you the contract number, your NOO number or notice of obligation, the period of performance for this contract, your fund, tells you if you are allowed to draw against the contract, gives you the amount of the total contract, the amount drawn, and then what is remaining to draw. So to create an invoice, you will go to the right-hand side where you have your more actions. And you have additional things that you can look at here. So view will allow you to view the contract, create your invoice, view related RFFs or requests for funds. And that is done by BWDA staff. And a request for fund is how you get reimbursed for your expenses. View related FSRs or financial status reports, and view related invoices. So for this, we want to create an invoice. So you always want to create workforce invoice. So whatever screen you're on, it will tell you where you are. And there's some additional information, which is a lot of this information from the your dashboard. So you have your grantee number, your name, your banking information, address. Down here gives you your fund details, your notice of obligation, and as well as your contract details. This is where we want to be for the invoice details. And these three, as we continue, this information will be automatically populated as we continue through creating the invoice. You always want to select the invoice month. I better make that from May. Your billing year. And then right now, this status is in pending because we are currently creating the invoice. You can put some comments in here, invoice created. And then you'll move on to entering your expenses. Now, with these cost categories, they are exactly lined up to match your FSR details. So you can basically take your the information from your FSR details and transfer it in to the cost categories for your invoice. So for here, we'll say I have $2, $2. Oh, come on. Thank you. $2. Now to get to the next section of cost categories, you just click on it and it'll automatically close the one you were working on. And then you can continue to enter your expenses. And as you click out, it will give you your cumulative totals of for that cost category. Once you're done entering all of your expenses, it tells you what your total admin amount is for this invoice, the total program amount for the invoice, as well as what your total invoice is and the total cumulative that has been expended. So once you're down to there, you want to save and continue. Okay, and in this case, I already have an invoice that's created for this time period. So you have two choices if you get a message like this. You can go no and cancel and change the month. I'm just gonna say yes and continue and pretend that this is expenses I forgot to include on my first invoice. So as you can see, once we save and continue, you get a random generated invoice number. So we have IN for invoice, W for workforce, and then the system gives it a numeric number. Gives you your creation date and time, and then this will populate with a date once we actually submit it. So once you do save and submit, this is where you're going to upload all of your documentation. So everything that you are invoicing. So if it's time, if you have payroll that you're invoicing for, then you'll upload your payroll summaries, your timesheets, you got office supplies from Staple, you ordered things from Amazon. So all of your supporting documentation is going to be uploaded in this section here, as well as the Excel workbook of your GFRP and the PDF of the FSR and FSR details and draw details. So for here, I'm just going to pick something to upload. Let's see. Where's my, oh, wrong one. Here we go, test. So as you can see, it's uploaded. You must give it a document title. I'll just say GFRP. Upload. It's thinking. And there we have the uploaded document. If you wanted to upload anything else, you would click upload again, grab that document, attach it, and give it a title. So once you're done uploading all of your supporting documentation, your GFRP, as well as your PDFs, you have three options. You can cancel. Maybe you said, oh, you realize I already submitted this invoice or something on it is incorrect. You can hit cancel. You can hit save as pending. Maybe you have a Staples expense and you don't have your supporting documentation. You can save as pending, get your supporting documentation, come back, reattach it. Or maybe you need to do save as pending because your organization requires a two-party verification, meaning one person creates the invoice, the other person reviews and approves. So save as pending means it's still on the provider side. So it will require some type of action from you to get it to save and submit and into BWDA. So in this case, everything is fine. I don't need to add any documents. I am the reviewer as well as the creator, so I want to do save and submit. That takes us to view workforce invoice. That gives us a submission date, and it now tells us that the status is in review BWDA. So what that means is that it is now on the side of the Workforce Development Administration, and we will review it and process it for payment. If we come across any issues, and I'm just going to go back here, right? This will tell you how many, in this example, there's 4 here that's in review BWDA. But if you go to, I think it's home. So we're just going to pretend BWDA looked at this invoice and they found out that there was an issue. You didn't upload your GFRP. We will return it to you and it will now be in review provider status. At this current time, If we do return an invoice to you for adjustments or corrections, we will email you asking you to log into your PA Career Link, that there was an issue with the invoice and we need you to update it and resubmit it to continue on processing. A future enhancement for this system is once the invoice goes back to review provider status, it's going to be an automated generated email that tells you need to log in to update your invoice. But until that happens, again, that's a future enhancement. One of the staff members from the fiscal tech team will email you and notify you that your invoice has been returned for additional information. So I know that was pretty quick, a lot of information. Do you have any questions? And just to throw out there, once you get started is when the questions will typically come up, but we are here to help. Just reach out and we can assist you in this process.
Scott here again from Emerge. If we've had expenses from previous months, can we invoice those in arrears, and do we apply those to the particular months that we incurred them?
You can invoice for expenses that are in your approved budget during the period of performance of your contract. So if your contract started in June, but the expenses were April or May, that's prior to the period of performance.
Sure. But if it started last August or whatever the date ours did, and they were incurred in February or March of 2024, can we expense for those in those months? Or should we put it all in, say, the first invoice we'll do for July at this point?
When did your contract start?
Bill, Lauren, you want to help me, or do I need to look for it?
Their agreement was July 1, 2023.
Okay, so you can start, you can invoice expenses for July of 2023. Considering we would ask that you invoice monthly, we're willing to get caught up because I know we're not going to go into the details of it now, but to get caught up, we are willing to accept invoices quarterly. But I think that was, we might want to have that as a sidebar conversation.
But it sounds like you'd want us to put those in July and not go back into the previous months, correct?
Well, you haven't started though, right?
Well, we actually have. We were recruiting students. Again, Lauren and Bill, help me, but I think as early as January, right?
This is Lauren, that's correct.
Chris, you have a question. Your hand is up.
It's more of a comment. So Scott, I don't know if this will help you, but your first invoice, if we go with the quarterly invoicing to get everybody caught up, you would be invoicing for July, August, and September of 2023, and any expenses in that time frame would be on that invoice. And then your next invoice would be October, November, December 2023, and any expenses in that time frame would be on that invoice. Does that answer your question?
I'm not sure if my team understands. That's great. I think they know what I'm driving at, but if so, do we put those expenses in the months on that Excel sheet that they were incurred?
Yes.
Okay. Does that make sense, Bill?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Going forward, if you have questions or when you come to your first invoice and you're running into concerns or questions, reach out to us. reach out to the resource account. One of us will get that email, we'll respond to you, we'll set up a meeting, and that goes for everybody on the meeting. When you get to the point of you're starting to invoice and you have questions, reach out to us at that time, so any concern you may have will not continue going forward and potentially create invoicing issues down the road. Sharon, I will turn it back over to you.
Perfect. Are there any other questions? As always, you can reach out to Jennifer and she will put you in contact with us if you would like to have a sidebar conversation. Jen, I am going to turn it back over to you in the interest of time.
Thank you, Sharon. And I truly appreciate the fiscal team and their thoroughness in reviewing the invoicing aspect of the grant. All right, we'll go back to sharing the presentation. Okay, so this brings us to budget modifications. So if you find that a shift in your project budget needs to occur and it's less than 10%, you'll need to complete a cover letter and a request a budget modification. Send the request to the ATO's resource email account at atogrants@pa.gov. Once the request is received, the analyst will contact the fiscal department to unlock your GFRP. Modified columns within the GFRP will need to be updated within the proposed change, so that will be emailed back to you. Invoicing will need to be paused until the budget modification is approved. After completing the modification columns, submit the modified budget and an updated outcomes table if needed to the ATO's resource email account. Okay, within your terms and condition, all apprenticeship programs supported by this grant are required to register with the Pennsylvania Apprenticeship and Training Council, as well as the ATO, or demonstrate significant progress towards registration within 1 year of the contract start date. And joining us today via telephone is Jared Young. He is the Special Apprenticeship Training Representative for Special Projects. And he is here to answer any questions that you may have or give just a brief hello. I'll be working with you creating your apprenticeship. And I'll turn it over to Jared if he is still available.
Yes, thank you, Jen. My name is Jared. I'm a Special Projects Apprenticeship and Training Representative, or SPATR. I'm going to be helping you as you build out your apprenticeship program. So if you haven't already, we're going to schedule most likely a bi-weekly meeting. And the goal of each meeting is to really make some progress towards completing the registration paperwork and getting approved. A lot of times I'll get the question on how fast or how quickly things get done. I really move, or I work as fast as you do. But if you want a little bit more description, a good rule of thumb is to have 20% of the application done in 3 months. So that's kind of a rule of thumb we go by here. But I'll be able to talk more when we start meeting one-on-one with everybody. So good to meet you. Thank you so much, Jen, for introducing me, and I'll kick it back to you. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Jared. I appreciate your opportunity to jump on here while you're driving and out there working. So, all right. This brings us to the final part of the grant package, is the closeout package. So if you find that you have expended the funds or you're coming to the grant end date, you will need to follow the final steps that we have listed here. So included in your final closeout package, you'll have the final financial status report, the final status of funds, grant recipient's release, grant recipient's assignment of refunds, rebate, or credit, grant recipient's closeout tax certification, disposition plan form, and then again, you will use the PA CareerLink site, CWDS, in order to complete this process. This needs to be done within 60 days, again, of the grant coming to a close, or you've expended all of the funds. You will receive a reminder once you're either at that point of the funds are reduced to zero, or we're within the time frame of the date closing out. Finally, to wrap up, I want to remind all grantees to please use the ATO's grant resource account at atogrants@pa.gov for correspondences related to quarterly reporting. And if you have questions regarding invoicing, the resource account for the fiscal department is ra-libwda-nonlocal@pa.gov. And remember to include your grant contract number in that subject line. Now is the time if you have any questions as they pertain to this presentation or attachments that we've reviewed, to go ahead and unmute yourself and feel free to ask any questions. Well, we either lulled you to sleep or, or we have helped answer some of those questions. So again, we're here to help answer any questions that may come up. So feel free to either email us directly or use the resource accounts that we've talked about today. With that, I'll thank you again for taking the time to join us. I look forward to working with you and supporting you in making your project and program successful. Thanks again and have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you very much.